Ei, gute wie? Ja, ich habe den Kampf gegen die Schwerkraft wohl verloren. Aber davon, und dass ich mich zum frühen Justin Bieber zurückentwickle, mal ganz abgesehen, reagieren wir jetzt auf das nächste Video von Thomas Game Dogs. Wir wählen die Stimme von Toad. Why doesn't Toad's voice like it used to? Also Gugge Memmer. Nee, ich mag die Videos total und ich würde die gerne weiter mit euch durchsuchten. Wer ist denn das so leise?
Toad has an extremely distinctive voice. So harsh sounding and screechy. But go back 20 years and he sounds like this instead.
Yeah!
He doesn't sound the same at all.
I'm the best!
In fact, he's completely missing all of that screechiness that makes Toad's voice so iconic nowadays.
Aber halt nicht immer so.
Why on earth did Toad's voice
Wir erinnern uns an Mario Party, ne?
change so dramatically? Well, it was kind of an accident. It definitely wasn't planned to sound this way. Come on a journey with me to answer the question, why has Toad's voice changed so much?
Also ich fürchte, ich habe das Video mal gesehen, 2021 veröffentlicht, aber ich kann mich auch nicht mehr erinnern, es ist halt super interessant. Frischen wir die Erinnerung
Before we
auf.
start, let's just get this out of the way. I'm leaving out the old Mario cartoons and anime, as always, because they weren't controlled by Nintendo themselves.
Aber bei Yoshi war das doch auch der Fall, wurde das auch mit eingeplant.
We're talking strictly Nintendo-sanctioned voices here. So Toad actually got his very first voice earlier than you might expect. It came in the year 1994, in the SNES version of the game Wario's Woods. This is a puzzle game, somewhat similar to Tetris.
Somewhat similar, ne? Sieht so aus, aber spielt sich richtig schlecht. Ich mag das nicht. Das war bei NES Remix 2 drauf und gab's für NES, aber auch Super Nintendo, Game Boy glaube ich nicht. Aber don't know, ey, kein Schwein braucht Wario's Woods.
Developed by Nintendo and Intelligent Systems. And take a listen to this.
Cool!
That was Toad speaking just there. Let me play another clip.
Yes!
Actually, to be specific, that was Red Toad.
Red Toad, das ist eine starke, selbstbewusste Frau.
You see, Wario's Woods has two different Toads. One is red and one is green. And oddly enough, Green Toad has his own unique set of voice clips.
Das sah ja so ein bisschen basierend auf Super Mario Bros. 2 aus und da hat man ja im NES-Original ja auch den blauen Toad gespielt, deswegen grün ist eine komische Wahl.
Hello!
Let's compare the two.
What?
Here's what Red Toad sounds like.
Breakfast! Yes! Woohoo! Winner! Sweet! Cool!
And then here's Green Toad.
Hello! Whoa! Yowza! Groovy!
Jausa, der Groovy, das ist so vom Jim hier.
Breakfast! Score!
Score! Was ist das für ein Toad? Ich will auch so reden, ey. Meine Fresse. Aber seit wann kann das Super Nintendo überhaupt so gut, vor allen Dingen solche Voice Clips, oder sind die ungefiltert?
Green Toad sounds more gruff and manly. So, who are the voice actors behind these voices? Well, there's nothing whatsoever in the game's credits about voice acting at all.
Toll.
However, in amongst the sea of Japanese names, there are two suspicious-looking English names, Michael Kelbau and Robin Kraus.
Ich dachte, die erste Stimme
Both
war weiblich
Michael and
gewesen.
Robin were working with or around Nintendo at the time this game was in development. And as native English speakers, I think they may well be the people behind the two Toad voices. It's hard to know for sure, but that's my guess. Now, this game isn't really
Meint ihr nicht, dass die erste Stimme weiblich war? Es klang so. Man weiß es ja nicht, aber der zweite auf jeden Fall, aber
at all to the rest of the evolution of Toad's voice. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo themselves forgot that Toad spoke in this game. But as an official Nintendo-developed game, I couldn't leave it off the list. But now, let's move on to where things properly get started.
Mario 64 oder kam noch
Okay,
was?
so it all begins for real in 1996. Not Mario 64, Toad is in
Hat
that
gar keine
game,
Stimme,
but
ne?
he never actually speaks.
Ja, ne?
No, Toad's first memorable voice role came a little later in the year, with Mario Kart 64. For the first time ever, Nintendo wanted their Mario Kart racers to speak. However, most of the voice actors chosen were just Japanese Nintendo employees with some free time.
Ja.
As for Toad, Well, his voice was provided by a woman named Tomoko Maruno. Now, literally nothing is known about who this woman was and how she came to voice Toad. Heck, there's not even a single photograph of her out there. But what there is her performance as Toad. Take a listen.
Woo! Here we go!
Das wird jetzt noch kommen. In der japanischen Version sind es andere Voice-Clips, deswegen ist es hier separat aufgeteilt. Oh, warte mal ab hier, warte mal ab. Oh, das war das Mario Party, yay! Mario Party.
I am the best!
Now, when it came time to localize Mario Kart 64 into English, Nintendo of America decided to re-record some of the voices using native English speakers. I can only assume that's because some of those original voices have fairly thick Japanese accents. Anyway, one of the voices that was redone in English was Toad's.
Yeah.
And the guy that was chosen to voice this character was Isaac Marshall. He was actually a game tester for Nintendo. For instance, he played through all three.
Wie kriegt man das hin, das zu recherchieren, dass er da irgendwo in den 90ern auf einer Bühne stand und das ist der und das war die Toad-Stimme? Wie kriegt man das raus?
Donkey Kong Country games to try and spot bugs and glitches before the general public could. But when Nintendo needed a new voice for Toad, Isaac Marshall was the one chosen for the role. He decided to go for a fairly youthful and very energetic sound.
Woo! Here we go! Yeah! I'm the best!
Die Stimme prägt sich ein, aber das hätte ich dem nicht angesehen, dem Kollegen.
Now, interestingly, after this, Nintendo actually reversed course a little. In the first 3 Mario Party games, along with Mario Kart for the Game Boy Advance, they went back to using Tomoko Maruno's voice for Toad,
Ja, genau.
I am the best!
rather than the more recent Isaac Marshall clips.
I'm the best!
To be clear, I'm not just talking about the
Wer
Japanese
ist der
versions
Beste?
of these games. All around the world, people listen to the Japanese voice clips. But then, in 1999, when Nintendo were working on Mario Golf for the N64, they decided to hire a professional voice actress to take on the role. You see, they were already holding auditions to find a new voice for Princess Peach, so they figured they could look for someone to play Toad as well. With both these characters, what
Das
they
weiß
wanted is
ich habe keine Ahnung, was Toad für eine Stimme in Mario Golf hat.
for someone to
Kommt jetzt schon das Scratchy? Oder was anderes?
perfectly mimic the current voices of the characters. And that's when they met Jen Taylor.
Ah, die hat beide gemacht, ne? Das war die frühere Peach.
Jen Taylor is a voice actress.
Und bevor einer fragt, ne? Ich habe sie schon in den letzten Tagen häufiger bekommen, ne? Samantha Kelly, die seit Jahren aktuelle Stimme für Prinzessin Peach in den Spielen, hat auf einer Autogrammstunde auch bestätigt, dass sie Peach in Peach Showtime sprechen wird. Es haben Leute gesagt, hä, das hört sich so anders an, das ist eine neue Stimme. Auf jeden Fall hat Samantha Kelly irgendwo gesagt, die Tage, sie freut sich schon aufs neue Spiel, da spricht sie auch Peach und wird großartig, wird schon so sein.
Who is great at mimicking voices. She's done it her whole life. And so she was able to perfectly mimic both the current voice of Princess Peach and the voice of Toad. I'm honestly not sure if Nintendo were looking for one person to play both characters, but Jen Taylor could do it. And so in Mario Golf, here's what
Jetzt bin ich gespannt. War das lange so?
Toad sounds like.
Try again! Yeah! Oh, B! Okay!
Wait, what? Hang on, that doesn't sound like Toad did before.
Ja.
Suddenly,
Es ist aber noch nicht so kratzig. Es ist eigentlich ziemlich passend. Wenn er einfach nur so redet und dann nicht so, weißt du, das ist ein gewisser Unterschied.
he's got that gruff sound in his voice.
Try again!
So ein bisschen wie Marge Simpson, weißt du? Weiblich, aber doch ein bisschen, ne?
What happened? Well, this is one part of the story that I really don't understand. I have scoured hours and hours of interviews with Jen Taylor, and in every interview, she says something to this effect.
And so I just literally went in there and imitated the woman who had done it before me. And that's how I got that gig.
Okay, well, that's something to work from. She wasn't imitating Isaac Marshall's voice.
Yeah!
She was definitely trying to sound like Tomoko Marino.
Yeah!
Except she doesn't. She doesn't sound at all the same.
Try again!
Well, okay, that's not exactly fair. When you listen to the two voices side by side and you listen for similarities, there are some things in common.
Okay! Okay!
They both have a sort of similar high pitch and high energy type thing. But it seems as though Jen Taylor added that gruffness herself. In most of the clips, it's pretty subtle, so it's not like it changed the performance a huge amount. Except, by only a few games later, this gruff Marge Simpson sound had ballooned out of control.
Ja.
Here's Toad from Super...
Da war es am stärksten, ne? Mich interessiert jetzt vor allen Dingen eines. Jen Taylor macht ja heute nicht mehr die Peach, aber gibt's dann heute einen neuen Toad? Aber die können die gut imitieren, ne?
Mario Advance, for instance, which was only the third game released featuring Jen Taylor's voice.
Oh, Reggie! Hi-ya! Here I go! Ah! I got it! Yeah!
Ich glaube, ich war da auch ein bisschen verwirrt damals, aber man denkt sich als Kind mit 11 Jahren nicht viel. Du spielst das und gut ist.
Just what I needed!
I mean, the only thing you can notice about that performance is the gruff, gravelly sound. Everything else kind of disappears into the background. So that's what I mean when I say the voice was created by accident. I don't mean that Jen Taylor was ill and that's where the sound came from. No, what I mean is that Jen Taylor was just trying to mimic the previous voice, but she didn't do a very good job of it. She introduced a slight rasp to the voice, but over time this rasp became more and more exaggerated. And then something big happened. Jen Taylor left Nintendo. So I've talked about this before, but around 2005 or 2006, Jen Taylor decided to stop working with Nintendo so she had more time to work with the Seattle Children's Theatre, which left Nintendo without a voice for Peach and Toad.
Prioritäten.
However, unlike Peach, Nintendo were able to mostly get by reusing old recordings of Toad's voice.
Da dachte ich mir
It's not
nämlich
like
schon.
he generally comments on anything specific that's happening in the games, so no one's going to notice if you use an old clip in a new game. Except there was one game where they did need new recordings. Super Mario Strikers, that slightly bizarre Mario...
Ich glaube, das ist eine Sprecherin gewesen, die nur ein Spiel da war und dann nie wieder. Aber vielleicht trügt mich meine Erinnerung.
football game. Apparently, none of the old recordings from Nintendo's archive really fit the vibe of the game very well, because they decided they needed some new voice clips. Now, while this was going on, Nintendo was searching for someone to take over from Jen Taylor full-time. But before they found that person, they decided to hire a temporary replacement in the form of a woman named Kelsey Hutchinson. Again, there's no photo of her on the internet. For some reason, this story seems to attract mysterious individuals. But
Ja, ich sag euch warum. Nintendo hat nie groß Geld in die Hand genommen und keine prominenten Sprecher verpflichtet, sondern ja, mach mal, ne? Mach mal die, mach mal da. Ja, ein bisschen rum zu krakehlen. Da findet sich schon jemand fürs kleine Geld. Ne? Das ist wahr, ne?
perhaps it's for the better, as her take on Toad is pretty notoriously unpopular. I'm gonna play you a sample, but first let me give you a warning. You might want to get ready to turn that volume down if this is a bit much.
Oh nein.
Next Level Games! Nintendo!
Die hat doch Daisy gesprochen, oder? Ich dachte oft, das wäre Daisys Stimme.
So that was probably the screechiest that Toad has ever sounded, but it also somehow fails to get that specific Toad sound right. Still, it's not like I could do a better job. Toad's voice is pretty hard to recreate. Anyway, these sounds were also reused in the game's sequel for the Wii, bringing this noise to a whole new generation. Lucky them. Meanwhile, Nintendo was still searching for that perfect person to take over both of Jen Taylor's characters. And that's when they came across someone who was
Samantha Kelly macht auch Toad.
bizarrely perfect for the job. Samantha Kelly. Samantha
So, die spricht immer noch und die spricht jetzt auch das Peach Showtime-Spiel.
Kelly was voicing TV commercials at the time. But when she heard about the audition for Peach and Toad, she couldn't believe her ears. Her natural speaking voice sounded really similar to Jen Taylor's, so if she just pitched it up a bit, it was a perfect match for Peach. But Toad? That was far stranger. You're not going to believe this, but from about the age of 12, Samantha Kelly had been doing Toad's exact voice, without even knowing it, without even knowing who Toad was.
That was a voice that I had played with when I was a little kid. You know, when my mom was tucking me into bed, I had this little puppet character named Cedric. And, you know, my mom would be like, "Stop it, you're driving me crazy." And then it was like, this is kind of a fit.
Of course, that didn't mean her first recording session wasn't nerve-wracking.
No.
Apparently, the recording booth kept getting hotter and hotter, and she got nervous and sweaty. Yeah, I can't blame her. It seems like a stressful job. But this recording session ended up being a success.
Aha, ich weiß, also ob das jetzt von dem Peach-Video kommt oder hiervon, aber ich weiß, wenn die irgendwie ein neues Spiel aufnimmt, wo Peach und Toad drin sind, irgendein Mario-Sportspiel oder so, dann macht die immer erst die Peach-Sprachaufnahmen und danach die Toad-Aufnahmen, weil nach der Toad-Aufnahme ist ihre Stimme erstmal am Arsch. Da ist die erstmal kaputt.
And her Toad debut came in the game Mario Party 8 in 2007.
Der geile
Here's
Zug!
her first ever Toad voice.
Yahoo! Yay! Go! Me! Oh, no! I'm the best!
Ja, doch, viel besser als in den beiden zuvor, wo es zu kratzig war. Wird ja gerne mal aufs Korn genommen, aber hier, das passt besser ins Bild, ne? Doch, tatsächlich.
Yeah! Rats!
It's funny. At the time, that was probably the most Toady that Toad's voice had ever sounded. But his voice somehow kept getting more and more exaggerated as time went by. In fact, by now, it's such an extreme voice to perform that when Samantha Kelly comes to record new voice lines, they always have to do Peach's voice first. That's because after doing Toad, her voice is so destroyed that she can't do the Peach voice anymore. Her voice literally won't go high enough. So they first go through all of the high-pitched characters, like Peach and Baby Peach. Then, after that, they move on to Toad.
Oh God, oh God.
Even with Toad, though, they start with the lower energy noises.
Yeah!
Then they move up through the ranking gradually, until finally they reach the very last lines, which are the truly voice-shattering ones. Keep in mind, these voice recording sessions typically last for 4 hours at least. And so, finally, after all of that, Samantha Kelly goes home, and only by the next day has her voice started to heal. Oh, I mean, that's pretty extreme. She mentioned as well that she's constantly having to drink loads and loads of water during the records.
Es ist halt auch wahr. Also wenn ich irgendwelche Let's Plays hatte, wo es ganz viele Toads gibt, ne, Mario und Luigi, Paper Jam oder ganz viele Paper Mario Games, ey, da ist, oder auch Mario RPG, ne, oftmals ist da ein Toad nach dem anderen und wenn du die ganze Zeit so sprichst, ist belastend. Ne? Jetzt klingt es bei mir natürlich nicht professionell, aber nichtsdestotrotz rede ich ja dann die ganze Zeit so. Und das geht einer einfach auf die Stimmbänder, Mann. Du bist danach. Ja, es kommt drauf an. Ich dachte irgendwie bei Mario RPG wäre nicht so viel Toad gewesen. Ja, falsch gedacht.
Just to try and keep her voice alive. Wow. And you can hear just how extreme Toad's voice has become in a more modern game like Mario Kart 8.
Woo! Yeah! Here I go!
So that's how Toad's voice came to be. It started out normal, but as the voice actors changed behind the scenes, each one exaggerated the gravelly tone just a little more. Until the present day, when Toad's voice is, well, it's certainly distinctive. And hey, while I was working on this video, I tried to do the Toad voice myself, and it hurt really bad. So I have a lot of respect for both Jen Taylor and Sam Kelly, who performed and continue to perform this voice for years on end. Rather them than me. Both Bowser and Peach have also gone through pretty dramatic voice changes, so if you're interested in that, you can check out either video. They're on screen right now. Plus, if you want to... Oh, there's a fly on my keyboard. Sorry. If you want to hear more stories going behind the scenes of your favorite games, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you see the videos as soon as I've finished making them.
Ey, da sieht der Dude aber noch anders aus. Wir haben doch das aktuellere Video gesehen und da hat er so lange Haare gehabt und ja, hier sieht er noch anders aus. Aber gut, was Haare angeht, sollte ich heute still sein. Ja, interessantes Video. So viel hat Toad jetzt auch nicht an Lebenslauf zu bieten. Aber ist, denke ich mal, ganz interessant soweit. Und ich hoffe, dass Samantha Kelly das weiterhin macht, weil warum nicht, ne? N64 Toad was a treasure. Ja, es muss irgendwie losgehen und dann formt sich das halt mit der Zeit. Dann formt sich das mit der Zeit. Aber ich mag den Toddy Boy, ne? Das ist ja... Ein bisschen ruhiger sollte er schon sprechen. Ich habe auch anfangs, ne? Ich habe anfangs Toad immer nur so gesprochen und irgendwann bin ich deutlich mehr kratziger geworden. Und das müsste ich eigentlich auch mal ein bisschen wieder in den Griff kriegen. Toadette spricht's auch, ne? Ich denke, ich gehe mal von aus. Samantha Kelly, meine Damen und Herren. Ich hoffe, das Video hat euch was beigebracht heute.
Ich hoffe, das Video hat euch was beigebracht heute. Ihr schaltet das nächste Mal wieder ein. Und dann sehen wir uns. Vielen Dank fürs Anschauen. Haut rein und Gute!